Do you guys like that little cliffhanger talking about how somebody tried to unalive me? Well, it was the truth. And here's the story as to what happened. So, for a little back context, I had been seeing my primary physician about this problem. 3 times I went to see my primary physician about this problem. Each time, I was told to take the same exact medication that I was telling her was making me sick. Now, you see, the first time I can understand, but repeatedly giving me the same medication that I explicitly expressed was making me very, very ill. You see, I went to see Miss Stephanie Chu, and I'm not going to call her a doctor because she is not a doctor. She may have a doctorate, but she is not a doctor. I went to see Stephanie Chu because my stomach was doing all kinds of weird things and has for many years. So I needed to get it fixed, and I've been needing to get it fixed for years, and I've seen many doctors and dealt with quite a few side effects and addictions and many different things just trying to get this situation taken care of, right? So I went and saw Stephanie Chu. The first time she gave me the medication regimen, I went home, took it, started taking it anyways, proceeded to get violently sick, right? So I do this for I don't know, I want to say maybe a week and a half. Now, at this point, my stomach has stopped moving entirely. It's not moving. It's not doing anything. I'm still eating my meals, but my stomach is not moving, okay? Second time I go to see Miss Stephanie Chu, and again she tells me the same thing, gives me the same medications, and sends me off to another doctor, which is fine. I understand it. My stomach hasn't moved in 2 weeks, and I'm going through some pain and stuff, but okay, we're gonna deal with that, right? So I make an appointment with this gentleman. I go to my doctor's appointment. I'm told I'll have tests that I need to take and ushered out the back door just as quickly as he could have gotten me in. Another week goes by. No calls about tests, not even knowing I needed to do anything. So I finally call his office, to which I'm instructed that I have tests that I need to take. Stomach's still not moving, okay? I go to the hospital who had my test, never let me know. Neither did the doctor's office or Stephanie Chu or anybody. But anyways, I go in, and at this point, I'm in agonizing pain. And when I asked the hospital about my test and things like that, they made it seem as though they didn't have it there. So in a bout of frustration, I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me, right? My stomach still hasn't moved in a really long time. I'm really sick at this point, and they wanted to worry about that. Then they gave me a stool sample container. My stomach's not moving. So, super confused. So I go home. A couple of days go by. Still nothing. And my stomach is moving. I called Dr. Chu again for my third set appointment, okay? I go in. I'm in tears because my stomach hasn't moved. And at this point, I want to say over 20 or 30 days. I have the exact numbers written down because, like I said, I got proof for everything I'm saying. I go in. That was weird. And I am in tears. She tries to send me away, doing the same medication regimen that she had told me 3 times previously. And my stomach hasn't moved in at least a month or over a month. I leave that doctor's office. I call my husband, and I'm dying, right? I'm dying. And our local hospital, there's quite a large joke about how you don't go there unless you have a cold, right? You have something you know they can't kill you for. But I thought, my stomach's not moving. Little quick fix, not going to be too bad, right? Oh my God, was I ever so wrong. I was so wrong. Anyways, I left the doctor's office. I tell my husband says, go to the hospital. So I go up to the hospital. They do a scan on me. I can't remember if it was an MRI or a CAT scan. But anyways, they did a scan. The doctor came in, said that he needed to do emergency surgery. Well, he's a traveling doctor, so I'm like, oh, right on. I get a traveling doctor. I'm going to get a good one. Things are going to be great, right? Oh my God. This is the beginning of hell. Ooh, so one thing that I forgot to mention is that during my third appointment, Miss Stephanie Chu felt that it was so extreme that she actually charged me extra for it. One other little fact I forgot to mention is that during my interaction with the Memorial Hospital's test staff, where I used the F word, not in an abusive way. It's literally part of my vernacular. If you watch my videos, you will see it as part of the way I speak. But yeah, it was so bad and it was so intense that they had to escort me into the back to get me to calm down, because I was so devastated with the way I was being treated medically with all of these things that was going on. So now we are up to admission day, okay? I listen to my husband. He tells me to go to the hospital. So I take my cute little booty up to the hospital. Now, I go in and I'm thinking, little stomach issues, right? Even though it hasn't moved for over a month, little stomach issues, right? So it'll be fine. And I go in and they do a CAT scan on me. And I meet the devil. His name is Mark Shapiro. I'm not going to call him a doctor either. And anyways, he tells me that I need to have emergency surgery. Well, seeing as I've never seen this man before in my life, I'm like, oh, he's a traveling doctor. All right, we're going to get a good one. I was so wrong. After being butchered, I figured this out. But we're getting to that. So we ask him explicitly, because we know that it's a joke, a running joke in Rollins. You don't go to the hospital. You don't go. You just don't. And anyways, so we talk to the doctor and we tell him, like, we can go to a different facility. There are things that we can do. We do not have to stay here, right? What is your best advice as a medical provider? What should we do? He said I needed emergency surgery. He reassured us. It took him an hour to reassure us that it was okay and it was safe to get surgery here. He lied to me. He lied to me. He lied to my friends. Because I had to take somebody with me in order to take care of this, I took my dearest friend with me. She was the one kind of helping me make all the choices and decisions and kind of keeping track of me and taking care of me. He lied to us. He lied to my husband. All three of us were on the phone when we asked him if this was something that he could do and if we needed to go to another hospital. And he reassured me. Made me feel safe. Made me feel like it was okay. And it wasn't okay. It wasn't okay. So I'm going to try and do this in days, because living through this trauma is really difficult, and I am seeing that now. So I will post another video tomorrow about day 1, but right now we are up to admission and getting ready to go in for surgery. See, guys, I told you I'd come back. I couldn't leave you hanging like that. That's not fair. So at this point, we are just past admissions day, right? We're going to talk about like that first time period. It's kind of like the time right after surgery and then kind of the next day. So my husband worked in North Dakota. It takes him many, many hours to get here. So his memory and recollections kind of just driving and things of that nature, right? That is why I had my girlie with me, because I needed somebody there to take care of me and help me, right? So Anyways, the one thing I remember from waking up from surgery was the staff telling me that their take on pain management was to let me wake up and then administer pain management from there. I did not understand what that meant. So at this point, if you looked at my body, you would see that I had a colostomy bag very, very low in my abdomen, as well as a drain tube very, very low in my abdomen, and a very large incision, kind of the things that you would assume you'd have if you had a surgery. Well, by the time that my husband had gotten there, it was midnight, well past the time that the doctor had left to go home and sleep. And so not a whole lot happened until the next day. Well, the next day when the doctor came in and started to talk to my husband, it was very clear very quickly that nothing had been done. As the Dr. Shapiro, had explained to my husband that they didn't have the tools to do the job that needed to be done. So other than the fact of why did you open me? Like, how did you not know? How did you not know? You reassured me, you sat there and told me you can do it, that you were very prolific in it, and then you don't even have the tools. There were many more larger complications than just those initial complications. Now, one of the things that I didn't tell you guys to begin with was the incision that was in my abdomen was still open. It was closed with 4 or 5 staples, and in between each staple was some gauze that was sticking out like this. And the reason for that gauze was because feces and bile was leaking into my abdomen, and that was supposed to somehow aid in this issue, along with the drain tube that didn't seem to be really producing anything, right? So by the end of April 20th, during the morning I had felt pretty good, but by the evening I was feeling very, very bad. I was very, very sick. And I was starting to have issues. Well, I'm not entirely sure exactly what day it was, whether it was the 20th or the 21st, but I believe it was the 20th, that my husband had decided he was going to go home and try to get some sleep after everything had happened. Now, at this point, he is lividly upset. Obviously, for obvious reasons. This doctor who reassured me cut me open. Nothing had been done. There was still feces and bile leaking into my abdomen. Nothing was fixed, right? So everything that had been done was kind of pointless. Well, Jeremiah started asking at this point in time to be moved to a different facility. That this was insane, right? And we kept getting met with, we are doing all we can, we are doing all we can, we are doing all we can. Okay, we're not ignorant people, right? Like, we're not dumb. And so that is when the real fight for my life began, was at that moment right there. But what I was going to tell you about it being later in the evening, my husband had left and my nurse came in, and they had been trying to get me to walk, which I understand is so important. But at this point in time, I felt so ill. I couldn't breathe, and my urine was black. So I was having a really hard time with the getting up thing. She came in and jerked my legs off the bed and started flinging me around and telling me very forcefully and very aggressively that I was going to get up and walk and that I didn't have a choice. Do you understand how terrifying that is for a patient that has nobody there at that point in time? I was scared to death. I started screaming at her to leave my room because I couldn't fight her off. I couldn't even breathe. So I started screaming at her to leave my room, and I wanted my husband. I started getting my phone. I got my husband called, and my husband came back up. Well, after speaking with the nurse and everything, we got me up so I could walk. Upon standing up for this particular moment, my husband had me wrap my arms around his neck and he lifted me up. This was the 21st, I think. Because when he lifted me up, everything in my stomach had come out. And that was after they had removed the drain tube. When he lifted me up by my arms, that was the 20th. That was the night of the 20th, because that's what his note says too. He had lifted me up, and everything in my stomach crashed down to my feet. All the bile, the stomach, the feces, everything. And then at this point in time, I got to start tasting my stomach, which I didn't even know was really a thing. Yeah. Anyways, I believe this is the end of the 20th, and I was admitted on the 19th. I'm pretty sure this is the 20th. They jerked out the drain tube, and with such aggression that I had other medical professionals comment on the aggression in which it was removed. So yeah. What a day, huh? Hey guys, welcome back to day 3 of wading through Candace's trauma and the surviving MHCC. Well, anyways, we're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. If you guys are curious as to what we're talking about, hop on back to my other videos, get caught up, and you will understand kind of what's going on. Anyways, we're going to jump right into April 21st. By this point, I was feeling very, very ill. Every time that I would stand up or any of that kind of activity, I would have drainage, just, I don't even know if you could call it that. I'd have waterfalls coming out of me of that type of nature. And it was just mortifying, right? So another thing that I would like to mention that I haven't really elaborated on is the incision in and of itself. With your incision like this, you have a lot of tissue that is exposed. Well, you know what happens to hamburger when you leave it out on the counter for too long, right? Because there wasn't a pad over it. There was not any wet packing. There wasn't a wound vac. There was nothing but my gauze and my tissue. Well, so we're at day 1. The pain is excruciating because, like I said, my stomach still hasn't moved. Now I have the surgery on top of all of that. And then I will explain later on what they found out actually was the cause of that. But anyway, so I've got all these issues going on and still nothing. I think that at this point I was getting a little bit of morphine every once in a while. And I know that I elaborate a lot on the pain, but I want you to understand that I'm open with my tissues hanging out. So I had a lot of pain actually going on at that point in time. And I come to find out later that morphine only has a 15-minute shelf life. So I was getting 15 minutes of relief for 4 hours of pain. 4 hours of sitting pain management free with my tissues hanging out. Oh my God, why is this so hard? So yeah, As far as April 21st, at this point, we have requested to be transferred, and we've been told that they were doing everything they can. Again, the surgery that I went in there, was the life-saving surgery that they had to do, they still hadn't done. Remember? Because he didn't have the tools to do that surgery. So I'm still there. I've got all these things going on, massive amounts of pain, dealing with people being absolutely abusive to me, and just writhing. I cannot even begin to express. It was so intense that some of the memories I have are almost like nightmares. Yeah. Anyway, so a couple of things that I kind of forgot to mention related to this was that during this time of not having any types of pain relief, I was also having tests done, like drinking magnesium citrate. Do you know what that does to your stomach? It causes your stomach to clamp down like this, your muscles and your intestines, because it's a laxative, right? That's what it causes you to do. Do you know what it does to your body when your intestines aren't moving? Oh, I bet you can imagine. Hey guys, we are back now for day 3. This video is going to be a little bit different because at this point I had so much septic infection inside of my body that my timelines kind of just started blending together. My husband has a much more refined timeline of events, but I'm going to kind of tell you the way that they come in my mind. So at this point, we are on April 22nd, I do believe, and nothing has changed. We're still getting these combated answers. We're trying to get me moved. So my husband asks for a second opinion. And the doctor tells him, and the hospital tells him, that in order for him to get a second opinion, that we will be paying for it. We will be finding the doctors. We will be doing all the legwork. I am dying. I am literally laying in the hospital bed in front of them while they're arguing about this, dying. I don't know if they just didn't think that I didn't know that or what, but I did. I was very aware. I could feel every bit of it. And that is going to get me in trouble because that's a bad word. Mm-hmm. Dying. Mm-hmm. You think it'll be all right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So anyways, my darling, amazing son is here helping me keep my thoughts in order because this is getting kind of dramatic. So anyways, my husband asks for a second opinion. We're met with nothing but combat. We're still trying to get me transferred. Every single time that I stand up and I try to walk and do all the things I'm supposed to be doing, I have release after release. At least I can breathe though. So on occasion, let me rephrase, I can breathe on occasion. And I am like septic. I can't. The pain is so agonizing at this point. It's just I completely am almost not even there. So my husband ended up getting a POA. A POA is a power of attorney because I could not make my own decisions anymore. So finally, on the 22nd, we'll say, I believe was mostly just trying to get them to give us a second opinion, trying to get transfer, trying to get help, just trying to get out of there. And at this point too, I also believe that my husband kind of started calling around in contact of legal aid too. So that'll be coming up in my future videos. So we're going to go ahead and, one thing I am going to mention, because I'm not exactly sure which day this happened. But somebody put a DNR on me. A DNR is a do not resuscitate order. Now, for the entire time that I was here, because of everything that I was going through, I was begging my husband to let me die. I am not going to lie about that. I was so sick and in so much pain and in so much agony that I was begging my husband to let me die. I was. But I never signed a DNR. Never once did I sign a DNR. My husband did not sign a DNR on me. Now, when I found out that there was a DNR, it was about the time that we were getting ready to be transferred. So I am not sure. I'm completely unsure of how that even happened. But my husband called me freaking out. That means if I would have died while he was not there, I just would have died. And I didn't even do that. So weird. So weird. So anyways, we are getting ready for transport and everything like that. And it's time to remove the NG tube. And now I understand when you pull it out, it has to come out pretty quick, right? You have to in order to not have issues with that. But what happened was they put their hand on my face with one hand and grabbed the NG tube with the other hand and pulled. And I mean with everything you can imagine, as fast as you can imagine. That NG tube came up my throat, hit me in the back of my throat before it came out of my mouth. That is how much they cared about me as a patient. I just needed help. I needed to be taken care of. That is all. I wasn't asking for anything unrealistic. I never did. From the moment that I went in there, I never did. So anyways, the 23rd came, and I'm trying to remember, because like I said, at this point, for me, everything is kind of a blur going in and out. And then the 23rd is when they called Casper. The 23rd is when they first called somebody to help me. The 19th to the 23rd, and I've got everything leaking into my body. Why would a doctor who knows about infection and knows about all these things that could possibly happen do that? That seems very wrong. Like, you should know what is happening to me. I know what is happening to me, and I'm not a doctor. My husband knew what was happening to me, and he's not a doctor. So the 23rd, they finally call Casper, and that's when Banner takes me in. I think it was the 24th when everything finally got settled down and I got transferred over there. Oh my God, I cannot even believe this. I remember the paramedic. I don't remember her name, but I will remember her face and her kindness and her love for the rest of my God-given life. By the time that she got there, I am at the point I can't breathe again because I'm filled up again. I have no pain stuff on board. I am completely not all there because I'm completely septic, right? And this is when I thought I heard about the DNR thing. This is when I thought I remembered it. And that's when I was like, I never signed a DNR. That is not ever anything I did. I never signed a DNR. Never, never, never. But anyways, so the paramedic comes in and she looks at me and she goes, I promise you, you're going to feel better in just a minute. And it was the first time in 5 days that I felt like I might be okay. Like I might be okay. I got into the ambulance and I didn't know what my future held after that. Bless you. Thank you. But I did know that I had a chance at life now. That I might at least have a chance at life. Although the 5 days in which they left me to get septic was a really good attempt at making sure that I had such an incredibly bad infection that I died. That hopefully what he did to me would never be seen. But I didn't die. I'm still here. Thank God I didn't die. Because I have a family that loves me. A husband, a son, a mother, a father. Just like everybody out there who has gone through these things. This is not okay. We're not guinea pigs. We're not sheep. It's not okay to do this to us. And it is definitely not okay to not accept any accountability for it. What you guys did to me was wrong. I should have never gone through that. No human should ever have gone through what I went through. This is going to be it for today's video. Tomorrow's video, I will start telling you guys about how we pulled me out of the depths of hell and about the angels that saved my life. Have a great day. Hey everybody, we are back, and today we are on our way to help. So we're at the point where the paramedics have picked me up, and my husband and I are on our way up to Casper Banner Medical. So anyways, we get there, and at this point I finally have some pain meds on board, and I'm very, very septic. I'm very sick, so some of my memories kind of were really weird. So some of the account of what I'm going to tell you is actually my husband's account. But yeah, so here we go. I got up there. They took me down to put the drain in, which was why Rollins Memorial Hospital had finally called Banner, was because they needed to put this drain in 5 days later, I guess. And so anyways, we go down, we get prepared to do that. They gave me the anesthetic that kind of just makes you daisy, right, at first, so you don't remember what's going on. So I wasn't fully knocked out, because like I said, at this point I am so sick, so septic. I'm still having issues with my fluid tracks and things of that nature. So yeah, they were trying really hard not to have to knock me out again. Well, I laid back on the bed, and from my husband's account, they told him at that point in time that where my incision was just started oozing, and the awful things that were inside of my body started coming out. So then it was an emergency rush surgery where they actually went in, took out my colon, and found 2 masses there, which was awful to hear later on. I was so messed up that I didn't understand what was going on until way later. But yeah, they found masses in my colon, so they ended up taking that out and undoing everything that he had originally done to me. They actually took care of me, and then gave me a colostomy bag. So, but at this point, it was almost a touch and go kind of thing. We didn't know, they didn't know if I was going to make it. Like I said, this is all the things that my husband told me, because I was so out of it. I don't really remember a lot. Like, I remember hearing them and hearing my husband talk. My husband talked to my dad, like things of that nature, but I don't really remember a lot because of the trauma. But anyways, so basically we spent the next 28 days fighting to get my life back. Once we got everything figured out, I had gotten so septic that I had what we called a yellow coat infection, which means you could not come into my room without wearing one of those yellow paper gowns, because I was so sick. At one point in time, I actually only had 1 platelet of blood. I am so grateful for people who donate blood too. I just want to let you know that. Because without that, I would not be here today. Without the quick actions of those doctors, I would definitely not be here today. So anyways, I got blood. They finally got the infection to go away. It took so long, months. I came home with what they call a PICC line in my arm. You can see, well, you probably can't actually, but I have some pretty little scars from my little PICC lines. I actually probably will keep those forever, just as a reminder. And then it has taken me since then to work back to somewhat a normal life, resemblance of a normal life. Ollie, at last year, I tried to work, but in between working, I had complications from the surgery that we were still working on fixing. I am super happy to announce that as of the 6th, we were able to take everything down, I ended up with some hernias and some things like that while we were healing up, and just some really rough things, but we got everything taken down, put back together, and now we're just on the journey to healing the body on the inside. So yeah, there's that. I still have a few things that I have to deal with. I have another surgery coming up to kind of work out some other things, but yeah, I'm finally where I can almost say that it's okay, that I might be okay. It's been a year living in limbo, which I didn't even know I was doing that until after they had fixed me. But yeah, I spent a year living in purgatory. So this is kind of crazy. Tomorrow's video will include a lot of question and answer type of things. I've had a lot of people ask me about legal things or why I didn't sue or things like that. So tomorrow I want to kind of discuss a few of those things and explain to you guys why everything happened the way it did. So we'll see you tomorrow.